1989 was a key moment in Hong Kong history, in part for what happened then, and in part for what happened since. At the time, many Hong Kongers were deeply concerned about whether, given the events at Tiananmen Square, Beijing could be trusted to uphold its commitments under the Sino-British Joint Declaration. As it turns out, the answer was no, Beijing cannot be trusted to do that. As for events after 1989, Hong Kong was, for decades, the only place on Chinese soil where Tiananmen Square could be openly commemorated. And the sentencing that we've seen proves quite clearly that those days are over.
Today, we're also going to be seeing the bail hearing for Zhao Hangtong, one of the key leaders of the Hong Kong Alliance, which organizes the Tiananmen Vigil. And she's been charged under the national security law. And one of the most chilling aspects of how that law has been applied is how unlikely anyone charged under it is to receive bail. So what does that tell us about how the Hong Kong legal landscape has been turned upside down since its implementation?
What the bail hearings illustrate is how Hong Kong has become what the German lawyer Ernst Frankl called a dual state. So in his account, there is a normative state in which some approximation of legality applies in ordinary administration and the courts. And then there's the prerogative state, in which essentially anything goes. And what we've seen with the imposition of the national security law is that whenever a particular case implicates whatever the Beijing or Hong Kong governments decide amounts to national security, the people involved essentially disappear into a legal black hole. However, I would caution against the notion that the dual state can be worked around by staying out of politics. As we've seen from the mainland's own national security legislation, the PRC has an all-encompassing definition of national security. So what happens today to civil society, to Tiananmen activists, to union leaders, is almost certainly going to happen tomorrow to business people who have deals with state-owned enterprises go sour, to short sellers, to comic book importers, to essentially absolutely anybody.